What's going on, everybody? So in today's video I wanted to show you guys how to create a simple image preview whenever you select an image. So right here we have a button called choose image. If I were to click it and I were to choose an image, it would actually show what the image is right here. I can delete it, I can add a different one, I can delete that, or I can select one and then choose a different one. Cool, let's get into it. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is installing our first dependency that we need, our one and only dependency that we need, and that is going to be npmi at materialui-core. And what this is, it's Material UI, and it contains a different version of CSS, which I like to use a lot more than regular CSS, and that's what we're going to be using for this project. It's going to be called Make Styles. You can follow along with this tutorial and later on refactor it to use regular CSS as well. Alright, so now what we're going to do is create our actual component so that we actually have somewhere to work in. I'm going to go ahead and minimize my terminal. I've already started the app, and I'm going to open up my files, and inside of my source folder I created a folder called components, and inside of there I'll create a new file and I'll just call it imagepicker.js. And I'll just copy whatever we have inside of here and paste it inside of here, and I will get rid of this import and I'll change this to image picker, and same thing down here, and I'll just say test just to make sure that we have everything working. And now back inside of here I will go ahead and import it, so that's image picker, and now let's see if it works. Perfect. Alright, so now what we're going to be doing is going back into our imagepicker.js, and the first thing that we're going to do is work on the hard stuff for this component to actually work and show us a preview of an image. And so the first thing that I'll do is I'll create a use state variable. So I'll do const logo and set logo is equal to use state, and we'll just set that to an empty string. Cool, so now what we're going to do is create a function that is going to be responsible for grabbing our file from the input field and sending it to another function that is going to convert that image into a base 64. So I'll do const handle create base 64 is equal to, I'll use a use callback async e, there we go, and right here I'll give it an empty array, there we go. So inside of here, what is going to happen? What we're going to be doing is, first we have to actually take the file from the input itself. So what we're going to do is const file is equal to e.target.files at the 0th index, and that is going to give us our file. Next, what I'm going to do is const base 64 is equal to await convert to base 64, and I'll just send it file. We haven't created this function yet, so don't worry. And next I'm going to do is set logo to be base 64. So once we send the file over to the convert to base 64 file function, then it will convert it to a base 64, and then we can set it to our logo, and then we'll be able to display it. And at the very bottom here I'm going to do e.target.value is equal to an empty string. Now the reason we're doing this specifically is because if you were to select an image and then you were to try to reselect the exact same image, it'll actually display it. And right below there I will do our delete function, so I'll do const delete image is equal to e, which is just event, and inside of there I'll give it e.prevent default, and we'll just do set logo to be, I'll just give it null. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and create our convert to base 64 function. Alright, so now comes a little bit more of a difficult part. We're going to create our convert to base 64 function, and that's going to be const convert to base 64, and we're going to give it the parameter of file, and inside of here I want to return new promise resolve reject And inside of here, I want to do const file reader is equal to new file reader, so that we can actually take the file. And we're going to do if not file, then we want to basically just send an alert that'll just say please select an image, else we want to take the file reader, oops, and read data as URL, send it the file, and on load we're going to resolve and send it file reader.result. And if all else fails, then we're going to do file reader dot on error is equal to error, and inside of here I'll just do reject error. Alright, let's see, what are we missing? There we go. Okay. Alright, so let's talk a little bit more in depth about what this function is actually doing, and I'll try to be as easy to understand as possible. And so starting off right here, we have this const file reader is equal to new file reader. Basically what this allows you to do is to be able to read the contents of a file from a user's computer. So when you input, let's say, a picture of, let's say we have this picture right here, this LeBron transparent.png. This file contains a bunch of properties such as the name and the directory and a whole bunch of other information. So it allows us to read all that information. And then if we scroll down in this amazing documentation, we have these things called ready states, where we have empty, loading, and done. When the actual file is done and ready to actually be either converted to a base64 or whatever, it'll be triggered as done or value 2, and which is happening right here in this else statement, where we have file reader dot read as data URL, which basically means we are going to convert that file into a base64, which then we can use that base64 to reconvert back to an image to display on our web application, or we can send it into our database, or we can send it to a third party, or whatever we want. And down right here we have this on error, which basically means that if everything else is broken, if there's anything that's broken, then we want to reject and we want to send back an error. Alright, so now what I went ahead and did was, just to save this tutorial some more time, and to save you some more time, I went ahead and copied and pasted my CSS for this project into the file. I don't expect you guys to actually type this out individually. The paste bin or the code to the CSS is in the description below. Please, I highly recommend just copying it. Don't bother spending your time on actually trying to copy this word for word. So once you went ahead and copied, or you actually typed it out, we have this make styles, and now what we're going to do is we're actually going to import it from Material UI. So that's going to be import make styles from Material UI /core. And there we go, perfect. And so now I'm going to be actually using these use styles inside of my const image picker component. So that's going to be real simple. All I'm going to do is const, const use styles is equal to, oh boy, I don't remember. Right, whoops. It's classes is equal to use styles. There we go. Okay. So what this is basically saying is that we're going to use this variable called classes. We're going to associate that to our use styles object that contains all of our CSS right here. Perfect. Alright, so now we've got the more difficult stuff out of the way. Now all we have to do is just plug and play, boop in your Betty, and that's it. Let's do it. So down here inside of this return div, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this class name app because we don't need that. And I'm also going to get rid of this test. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do div, and inside there I'm going to give it a class name is equal to classes dot logo container, and inside of there I will give it a label which is going to be equal to class name classes dot label logo, and I'll give it HTML4 is equal to contained button file. And now inside of the actual label itself, what we're going to be doing is giving it a div with a class name equal to classes dot button container. Inside of there, we're actually going to be hosting our button stuff. So I'll do div class name is equal to button, and I'll close that up. And inside of this button div, we're going to be doing another div, which is going to be a p tag, which is just going to be choose image, and that is going to have a class name is equal to classes dot button text. I'll save that. Alright, let's go ahead and actually check out what it looks like. And we have a beautiful error. Fantastic. So it's saying that does not contain a default export. Oh, that's easy. So I'm going to actually contain this in curly braces. Oops. And I'm going to move this at the very top. There we go. Now let's see. Perfect. And this doesn't work yet because we actually haven't even put in the input stuff yet. So we just have a really, really fancy choose image text field right now. Alright, so stick with me here. We're almost done. We have a 3-piece combo left. So scrolling back down, right underneath my button container, I'm going to be adding a ternary operator, which is basically all it's going to be doing is displaying our delete logo button when there's an image, and if there's not one, to not display anything. So I'll do div, and I'll give it a class name is equal to classes dot button, and inside there I'll add a p tag, give it a on click is equal to delete image, which is our function right here, which is just basically going to set our use state function of logo to null. And inside of there I'll give it a class name is equal to classes dot button text, and inside of the button text we'll do delete image, close the p tag, and right between there I'm going to give it a colon null. I think that should be it. Oh right, we need a closing div tag. My bad. There we go. Okay. Ah, what am I doing? There we go. Now we're good. So now if we go back into the app, we'll see, like right now we don't see it because we don't actually have an image there right now. Now let's go ahead and actually work on displaying our image right over here. So right above our label, I'm going to do another ternary operator that will just be logo, and I'll just set it to null inside of here, and inside of this bracket section I'll do span, and whoops, and inside of there I'll give it a div with a class name is equal to classes dot picture container, and I'll give it the closing brace, and inside of that div I will give it an image tag, which will be class name is equal to picture source logo alt logo. There we go. Perfect. And now if I save it, still nothing will show up because we actually haven't implemented anything yet to actually allow it to show up. So now let's go ahead and work on our input field. Alright, so now right underneath our second last closing div tag, I'm going to give it an input with a self-closing brace, and inside of there I'm going to give it an ID is equal to contain button file, type, obviously we want file, except I want to do all, but at the same time I also want to do PNG, JPEG, and JPG. And the reason that we're doing it like this and not just giving it only this is because I've noticed that sometimes on Mac and Windows and Linux that images don't always get submitted properly. So that's why I just give it this entire thing just as a backup plan, just in case. And underneath it I'll just give it a regular style tag, and I'll just do display none. I'll give it a name of, let's say, logo, and on change this is where we connect everything, handle create base64. Alright, now let's go ahead and test this bad boy out, shall we? So I clicked on choose image, and I click on an image, and we can see that it's screwed up. what is happening here? So I go into here. Okay, so the button container is not actually containing both of our buttons, it's just containing this one. So let's see where this is. So this div tag is corresponding here, so I'm going to delete this, and I'll put it right above our, oops, sorry, I meant right below our delete image button. And so now we can see that it's actually on top of each other. So I click delete image, I can click choose image, choose this image, I don't want that image, I want this image. I don't like this image either, so I'm going to delete it. You know, I don't even want an image. Now I want an image. Perfect. It works 100%. Alright, perfect. We're done now. And this was a pretty long tutorial, I know, and I hope that it helped you guys out, learn lots. Something really cool about this is that since we've converted this image to a base64 right over here, we can technically do whatever we want with this. Like I said earlier, send it to a database, send it wherever you want. I have a challenge for you. I would highly recommend that you try this out. Try to actually pass this image as a prop to another component and render that as a profile picture for a user. So let's say you just had like a regular user icon underneath here, and you were to send this base64 over to that other component, and you displayed it inside of there when you chose an image. It's a cool little challenge, and if you want to try it out, try it out. But if you don't, that's fine. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you out. If it did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one.